Ink Ribbon.
In case you couldn't tell by the name of my channel, I love Resident Evil. Specifically Resident Evil 2. With the announcement of the RE2 remake, a whole resurgence of information about the original game has been appearing, and I'd like to take the time to tell you about one that I really resonated with. So sit back and relax while we take a trip back to 1997. This is Hideki Kamiya, the director of Resident Evil 2. If you've ever wondered why the whole Resident Evil 1.5 thing happened, well, it's partly because of him. Oh, you don't know about 1.5? Let me get you up to speed. Resident Evil 2 was 80% complete when the director, producers, and entire dev team said, nah, I don't like it. Let's start over. And they literally made the entire game again from scratch. Yeah. Imagine writing a 15-page essay and working really hard on it only to have it catch fire as soon as you type the last few words. Because it was his first time directing a game, he really wanted to do a good job. Having lived in Japan and worked with Japanese people myself, I can tell you firsthand that they really take pride in their work, and Kamiya-san was no different. The scenario writer for 2, Noboru Sugimura, was the one who advised him to start over.
What a mess! What could have done this?
He was old enough to be Kamiya-san's father and sort of nurtured him, giving him the confidence to start over again. Which sounds nice, but it was basically them all stuffed into meeting rooms for weeks and weeks, screaming at each other and then going out after work to get so drunk they can barely walk, because that's work life in Japan. Seriously, it's expected of you. So now on top of starting the game over and constantly managing not to succumb to alcohol poisoning, Kamiya-san was now tasked with the job of writing the script, something he had never done before. Sugimura-san continued to push Kamiya-san to keep working, even onto his next games, Devil May Cry, Beautiful Joe, and Okami, before passing away. Along with the new challenges of script writing, Kamiya-san also had to do something that Capcom had never done before, and that was recording English voice actors overseas. That meant he got to travel a bit to oversee the recordings personally. Sounds great, except that when he got there, his translator suddenly fell ill with a stomachache and Kamiya-san had to direct the English-speaking cast by himself. That was all fine except for the fact that he didn't speak English. Because of his lack of supervision, he was able to work in a line for Claire which was not approved by Sugiyama-san, who was busy writing the script for Code Veronica. That line was,
Chris, I have to find you.
Sugiyama-san was livid over this because Chris wasn't even going to be in Code Veronica and he had to rewrite a large part of the script for it. Kamiya-san continued to be a bit reckless with decisions that had much more drastic effects than he realized. One example of this is when he decided to introduce the infamous zapping system where you could play Leon and Claire's scenarios with different story paths and outcomes, which caused the game to be a bit too big to fit on one disc. Yes, this one tiny idea he had caused the game to be on 2 discs. And this of course added to production costs, which is never a good thing. Kamiya-san began to feel the severe stress of work, and even though he was only 25 at the time, he couldn't bear it, so he did what any rational employee would do. He began drinking brandy in his office at night until he was drunk, showing up to work in various stages of a hangover, and sleeping in empty offices whenever he could. Usually during his lunch breaks. So now you can kind of see how this man was self-destructing because he wanted the game to be the best that it could. Well, the good news to all this is that Kamiya-san has stated on Twitter that when he looks back on it all, it makes him so happy to see how fondly people remember Resident Evil 2. Mission accomplished, dude. And that is the story of how making Resident Evil 2 nearly killed a man. I hope you guys liked this video, and I will keep making more as long as you keep watching. Feel free to hit the subscribe button and the like buttons for more. I'm Kai Morgan, and as always, thanks for watching Ink Ribbon.